If you know me just through the gaming videos, you probably are not familiar with my paintball work. I've been doing paintball videos for years, things like first-person shooter style videos and tutorials and how-tos and tactics and all that other stuff. So when I started doing gaming videos, I shared them with the people I know in the paintball community, and a lot of them had some interesting questions. None about my sanity though, which I find kind of surprising. But anyway, a lot of them wanted to know things like, what does it cost, what's the time investment involved in, what am I getting myself into, is it worth it? And one thing I've found about gamer culture, a lot of it is, if you can't figure it out for yourself, you shouldn't be playing, but that never really sits right with me. So here you guys go, here is a brief introduction video to the MMO world. I'm going to start with the assumption that you've never played an MMO before and you barely know what one is. Well, they've been pretty pervasive through pop culture lately, and you can't really ignore them anymore.
World of Warcraft is a massively multiplayer online role-playing... Right, technically it's a game.
Shouldn't you go out and socialize with your friends?
I am socializing, Artard. I'm logged on to an MMORPG.
This role-playing game, out in 2004, returns to the world of Azeroth, where heroes like Leroy Jenkins do battle. And that would be the World of Warcraft.
And every few years, a sensationalist story comes along that paints the MMO experience as being life-absorbing and able to kill small children, but that in itself could be its own show, and I don't want to delve into that here. But it's pervasive enough that it makes people ask some common questions, so let's try to tackle those. First, MMORPG. It stands for Massively Multiplayer Online Role-Playing Game. This just means that, unlike console games, a lot of the characters you meet have a real person operating them. We'll use the term PC, or player character, for these folks. Other characters you meet are non-player characters, or just NPC for short. Every game has a different way to tell them apart, but for the most part, if they do more than just stand there, it's probably a player character. There are several kinds of MMOs out there to suit your tastes. Swords and sorcery, space opera, superheroes, straight up beat-em-ups, whatever your fancy. And to answer one friend of mine directly, yeah, it can take real money to play these, so let's get that out of the way first. Subscription games mean you buy the software and then pay a monthly fee to play. World of Warcraft, for example, costs about $60 to get up to the Cataclysm software, and then after that it's about $15 a month. So if you really like the show, I'm just saying. There are other subscription games like EVE Online and Rift that are similar, in which you pay a fee to play monthly, but all the content is unlocked. As long as you play through it, you can access anything that you want to. All you need to do is put in the time. The other style is free-to-play. These are games like Champions Online, Dungeons & Dragons Online, Guild Wars, and dozens of others. These games are, well, free. Software might be free, but the online playing is free, except for one catch. Sometimes some of the content is not free and must be paid for, or some perks like more characters or storage space for items isn't unlocked, and in most of the good ones you may never notice this. Well, in others, well... There's a phrase that's used in the MMO world called free to pay, and this is not a compliment. These are MMOs in which you have to spend real-world money in order to buy the unobtainium sword that lets you actually adventure in the world without getting killed every 5 steps, or you have to buy the specific kind of armor to compete on a PvP level or whatever. Yeah, these MMOs get avoided. Many subscription games now have a free-to-play trial time, like World of Warcraft. The first 20 levels are free. And this is good, that you can try before you buy, but 20th level is barely enough to give you a really good taste for the world. But I'll admit, it's better than nothing. There's also another thing you need to know about, and that's the other players. There's 2 basic world designs, PvE, which is player versus environment, and PvP, which is player versus player. The difference is that in PvP, other people can attack you with no notice. There's nothing more annoying than getting killed repeatedly by somebody 40 levels over you because they got shoved into a locker at school that day. The more hardcore crowd goes with PvP MMOs, so I'd shy away from those if it's your first experience with one. Don't worry, there's still PvP content in a PvE world. It's just special occasions, and you have to go looking for it. There are also a world of games that are exclusively PvP. Every first-person shooter game comes with an online mode where you jump in and play against other human beings. That's PvP, technically speaking. But as I told the people at Xbox Live many years ago, if I want to play a first-person shooter game, I'd rather go play paintball. Actual reality. FTW. But back to the RPG side. RPGs are usually story-driven, or at least they have a loose storyline to tie things together, so most of your time will be interacting with the storyline wherever you go. Almost all MMOs are going to be the same in this respect. You get quests from specific people, and they break down into several subcategories of quest. Go find NPC X. These are the easiest ones to do. Fetch quests, or go get me X of Y and bring them back here. Yeah, those are the grinder quests, as you may need to kill 50 of something to get that one elusive Y thing. Then you have the escort quests, which are the most obnoxious of all. Go find NPC C and walk slowly back with them to a location, and all the while every creature within 5 miles sees you and tries to kill you. Now, some of them jog now, but most of them walk so slow you think they're on death row or something.
If you couldn't tell, I really hate escort quests. I really hate escort quests. They take forever. Half the time what I want to do is just want to pick the person up and fireman carry them to the objective. It'd be faster and easier to do. Or just maybe tie to the back of the horse and send the horse on its way. Hiya!
And that kind of brings me to one concern that my friends have, and that is the time investment. Well, it does take time. The opening areas for any given new character in World of Warcraft can take a few hours to complete, and probably more if you don't really know what you're doing. But I look at it more like a book than a movie. You get yourself drawn in, you're not wasting this time. Grinding quests? Yeah, those are basically wastes of time, but I still like the storylines in spite of those. Which also brings me to money, like real world money. People keep on asking me, is it worth it? Is a $15 a month subscription worth the game that you're playing?
Well, that's an interesting question, and one that I can answer with an analogy that's mostly meant for the paintball crowd that I'm going to lose all of the gamers on. What would you rather play? Would you rather play Outlaw Ball, or would you rather play at an insured field?
What I mean by that is, yeah, it's cheaper to play free-to-play, but sometimes it's like playing paintball in your backyard. You're never quite sure what you're gonna hit. Plus, some of the costs can feel kind of hidden, in that you start playing for free, you invest the time, and then suddenly you find it's going to take $40 in credits to go buy this unobtainium sword? That sucks. Plus, well, some of the free-to-play servers, they're plagued with hackers who game the code, not play the game. Subscription services have money coming in for upkeep, and as much as we bitch about the big companies, they do try to stay on top of a lot of the problems. If someone's hacking, yeah, they tend to go away pretty fast. Plus, when you look at the cost, it's still cheaper than a weekend of paintball, and it really pains me to say that.
I also look at paying to play as part of the cost of helping to maintain the game and keep it running. I mean, servers are not cheap, and maintaining servers, that's not cheap either. So if the quality of a game is really good, I have no problem helping to spend money to maintain that level of quality. That being said, a lot of people wonder, is it worth it? Well, my inner geek is screaming, yes it is. But I also understand that it's not really for everybody, so here's what I recommend you do. Go online and go find a free-to-play MMO. Champions Online and World of Warcraft both have free-to-play options. You can try it out, see if it's something that you enjoy. And if it is, then you can invest in it. If it's not, well, you're not really out anything except a couple hours of your time. Now, a lot of the hardcore players are going to say, well, if you do that, you're not going to get to the end content, you're not going to get to half of the stuff that's out there, but I tend to disagree that the beginning content is still pretty good, and it gives you a feel for what it's like. That, and to be quite honest with you guys, a lot of the end content, PvP, and the 40-man raids and things like that, it really feels like walk-on paintball to me, so if that's the case, I would much rather just grab my goggles and... You know, actually, come to think of it, I am so out of here.